I've always been a night owl. If my job didn't force me to wake up early, I'd happily sleep until noon and stay awake until 3 in the morning. The silence of the world after midnight on ordinary days is stifling. Empty streets with only the occasional flash of car headlights passing every 10 minutes. The sidewalks are bare, bathed in the pale silvery glow of streetlights. Everyday sounds, shouts, car horns, barking dogs, or construction hammers give way to whispering winds and the faint rustle of dry leaves skittering across the pavement. It's a quiet that feels eerie. Of course, when you wander too deep into the witching hour, keeping yourself from sinking into despair or boredom isn't easy. Anyone who stays up late knows that TV quickly becomes a trusted companion. A big chunk of my paycheck goes to a premium cable subscription. Usually I let the TV run as background noise, but if I stumble on something good, I'll sit and watch. Last Wednesday night I felt more exhausted than usual but couldn't sleep. So I plopped down in front of the TV with a reheated tamale and my cat Frank and started flipping channels randomly. After a few reruns on the Food Network, I began to doze off. The clock read 3:01 a.m. I jolted awake when Frank let out a shrill meow and bolted toward the bedroom. At first, I thought it was just typical cat weirdness, but then my eyes flicked back to the TV screen, which was now showing static on a channel I didn't recognize. That was odd because I was sure a show was playing before I nodded off. As I stared, the screen changed. The static flickered once or twice. Then an image appeared, a video of a room with peeling yellowish walls, clearly long abandoned. A dim ceiling light cast a gloomy glow. In the corner sat a single metal folding chair, nothing else. What struck me immediately was the lack of sound, no captions, no ads, nothing to suggest this was a broadcast. Then a faint sound emerged, a sob. At first I thought it was a woman crying, but the pitch shifted strangely, making it impossible to tell. The sobbing grew louder, warping into something not just sorrowful but terrifying, mixed with hoarse screams. The sound filled the room, overpowering everything as if the crying was inside my head. My nails dug into the couch. It felt like someone was enduring unbearable pain, both physical and mental. But instead of pity, I felt a chilling fear. Then the sobbing stopped abruptly. I blinked, still transfixed by the screen, a vague dread warning me something awful was coming. The image cut out, the screen flickered again, and the scene changed. The chair was now overturned in the middle of the room. Hanging from it, head tilted unnaturally, was a body. The rope creaked as the corpse swayed. Slowly its face turned toward me, pale swollen with cloudy eyes staring downward, then lifting to meet mine. That moment snapped me out of the trance. I frantically hit the power button. The screen went black. I collapsed, gasping, heart pounding like a drum. It was probably just the end of some horror movie, not real. Modern CGI is convincing, right? Still, I grabbed it. Frank rushed to bed and read with every light on until dawn. The next morning, with sunlight streaming in, I felt less rattled and turned the TV back on. A Blender infomercial was playing. I sighed in relief and checked channel 543. It was fine. I should have left it at that. But in the days that followed, I sensed whatever happened that night wasn't done with me. After work, I'd come home to find Frank hiding under the bed, fur bristling. Stranger still, though, I always turned off the TV before leaving. It was on, always tuned to channel 543. I stopped watching TV for several reasons, but I had a gut feeling something was still waiting for me. I didn't know what, but I was starting to panic. Should I toss this haunted TV and stick to Reddit for entertainment? Following online advice, I took cleansing measures. It took a while to find a modern spiritual shop selling sage bundles, $5 for 5. I burned them at home, filling the apartment with smoke so thick I had to cover the smoke detector with a plastic bag. I sprinkled salt around the TV and set up a cross on the windowsill. I'm not religious, but I've seen The Exorcist and figured it couldn't hurt if Linda Blair decided to crawl out of my 35-inch plasma screen. Honestly, these rituals felt silly. I'm not superstitious. Frank wasn't thrilled either, sneezing in my face to show it, but eventually he crawled out from under the bed, rubbed against my legs, and ate some shredded chicken, his favorite. Maybe it was my imagination, but the apartment felt lighter, like an invisible weight had lifted. Of course, it was 10 a.m., a crisp fall day, so my mood was already better. But everything changed after sunset. My apartment is small, a one-bedroom on the 3rd floor. The front door opens to the living room with a wall of windows opposite. The TV sits in the far right corner, a balcony door to the left, and a hallway behind the TV, leads to the kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. That night, I went out with friends and returned around 2 a.m. Three things hit me immediately. First, the lights I'd left on to make it look occupied were off. Second, Frank didn't greet me with his usual sassy meow. Third, a familiar cold glow flickered in the corner the TV was on again. I froze at the door, staring across the living room at the screen showing static. As I took a step, a crunch sounded underfoot. The rug was littered with broken, charred sage twigs. Someone had torn them apart. Not Frank, he wouldn't touch them. I glanced at the windowsill. The cross was still there, but upside down. My heart raced, sweat beating on my skin. This wasn't just strange or annoying anymore. Something powerful and nameless had invaded my home, and it clearly had a message. As if reading my thoughts, the TV switched to a dark parking lot. Muffled music from a nearby club played, neon lights flashing green and orange. I recognized it instantly, the club I'd just left with friends. The door swung open, music blaring, and there I was, stepping out laughing with my friend Paul. He clapped my shoulder, wished me goodnight, and went back inside. Panic surged. If I had a stalker, this was proof. I pulled out my phone and started recording the TV screen, watching both the phone and the TV. The unseen cameraman kept filming as I rummaged for my keys, then walked off screen toward my car. A minute or two passed silence. Maybe I saw something move just outside the light, but I wasn't sure. Then the image cut to static and went dark, leaving me in darkness. I flipped on every light, unplugged the TV, and swept up the sage. After writing the cross, I found Frank under the bed, trembling in a corner, the rug soaked with his urine. When things calmed, I reviewed the phone video, me leaving the club, searching for keys, walking off screen. Then I saw it again, a shape moving at the edge of the darkness. I rewound frame by frame. Just before the static, 2 frames chilled my blood. The image was dark and grainy, but I saw it, a patch of shadow like smoke seeping from the night. Part of a body, maybe a head with 2 unnaturally long arms, elbows, bent backward. The rest dissolved into nothingness. A sharp crack came from my right. I jumped as the alarm clock blared static, its red display flashing 5:43 a.m. My phone buzzed and rebooted. When I checked the video, including those horrifying frames, was gone. I stuffed Frank into his carrier and called Paul, who'd left the club minutes after me. Now I'm at Paul and his girlfriend's place. I don't know what to do next. Call an exorcist? That thing didn't care about an upside-down cross. Someone please help. God, I'm freaking out. Everything spiraled out of control. I'll pick up where I left off. That night, I stayed at Paul's. A bit of background. Paul's one of my closest friends, my opposite in many ways. I'm introspective and rational. Paul's a social hippie, the kind who'd let a stranger crash on his couch for a month if they vibe with his 420 policy. He lives in a rundown rental with his girlfriend, Layla, and a lizard named the Dude. Paul's into ultimate frisbee homemade hummus and owns 2 scooters, the guy everyone knows. Though it was late when I arrived, Paul and Layla welcomed me warmly. They'd set up a futon in the living room, surprisingly clean, despite decor like Cheech and Chong raided a thrift store. But Paul has a TV, an old bulky CRT on a plastic crate. I eyed it warily, knowing I'd share the room with it all night. They were tired, but Layla sat and talked before I turned in. She asked what was happening, and I recounted everything as clearly as possible without sounding unhinged. Layla nodded gravely and said such things aren't rare. Her grandmother was sensitive to spirits and often attracted what she called bad ones, disrupting the house and scaring her siblings. I tried not to dwell on it, curled up with Frank on the futon, and fell into a fitful, anxious sleep. I woke in a panic, noticing 3 things. First, Frank was gone. Second, a foul stench filled the air like swamp rot mixed with a house fire. Third, the room was dark, the microwave clock in the kitchen reading 5:44 a.m., casting a faint green glow. The TV was on. Layla stood in front of it, staring at the screen as if hypnotized. I sat up to ask if she was okay, but the words died in my throat. Her eyes were wide, mouth open in a silent scream, an expression of raw, wordless terror I'd never seen on a human face. Slowly, her head turned toward me, face unchanged. She stared for 3 seconds, then collapsed. What happened next was almost surreal. Paul heard the noise and rushed in. Layla woke sobbing and muttering incoherently. I thought I heard her say Pishacha, a demon from Indian folklore, but I wasn't sure. Once she calmed enough to leave, Paul pulled me aside, his face grim. "You need to get out of here," he said. I froze. "What?" "Listen," Paul said. "Your coming here just made it follow you. Go home." Don't sleep. We'll keep Frank. Tomorrow I'll call and we'll figure this out. I had no choice. I drove home without Frank. First thing, I turned on every light, unplugged the TV, draped 2 blankets over it, and blasted music loud enough to scare off demons. Now I'm at Paul's computer, waiting for something to happen. My own computer's been hijacked. The screen shows a place I think it wants me to go. Layla's researching a ritual. She says it definitely wants something from me, maybe freedom or a body. The ritual's in half an hour. I'll update tomorrow if it works. If not, there'll be no update. Good news? I'm alive. Bad news. Keep listening. Back to that night, I returned home. I sat at my computer, music blaring, lights, blazing coffee maker, on overdrive, everything ready. I thought I was safe since I'd unplugged the TV. Once again, I overestimated my power, or any humans, against things that don't follow our world's rules. As I started typing an update, the computer screen flashed blue, then displayed the sequence 54321. It flickered and a stench hit the room like the one at Paul's rotting swamp and dead dog. An image appeared me at 5 years old holding a red bucket by Lake Stern near my childhood home, a half-hour drive away. The image flickered, showing the same lake, same spot, but at night. I was gone. The trees in the distance were black silhouettes under a starless sky. The water was inky still. In the lake's center, rising like an ancient monster, was the small island. Growing up by Lake Stern, my friends and I never set foot on that island. Maybe our moms scared us with tales of drowning wild dogs or worse. Rumors of suicides didn't help. A cold dread gripped me, the stench burning my eyes. This was where it wanted me to go. The image lingered a few seconds. Then the screen flashed a series of horrific images that'll haunt my subconscious forever, nightmare fuel. Then it all stopped. I tried rebooting the computer, but it was a brick. I called Paul and Layla, spilling the whole story. Paul spoke to Layla briefly, then handed her the phone. My grandmother told me about things like this, Layla said, calmer than I expected after her ordeal. Some entities leave their chaotic realm and latch onto us. Sometimes they just want attention, harmless pranks. Others have important messages they can't deliver in their world. Rarely malevolent ones are summoned to bind to someone, destroying them until nothing's left like a curse. But that's hard to pull off without harming the summoner, so it's uncommon. What about mine? I asked, trembling. I think it's the second type, she said. How far is that lake? If it wants you there, there's a ritual to banish it. If it's the first or second type, it'll react and leave. If it's the third, we're in trouble. I didn't ask what trouble meant. That evening, around 10 p.m., Paul and I stood by Lake Stern, unloading Paul's 2-person kayak from his car. We went at night since the image was nighttime. Memories flooded back, playing, swimming, building sandcastles, smelling sunscreen. Now it was deadly silent, with only a few footprints and trash on the sand. The island loomed in the lake's center, darker than its surroundings. Every nerve screamed not to go, but I wanted this over. I didn't want to be cursed anymore. Though I feared Paul and Layla might abandon me, they didn't. Layla stayed on shore while Paul and I kayaked to the island with a bag of supplies and Layla's instructions. The island's shore showed no human traces. Piles of branches and dry leaves crunched underfoot. We pulled the kayak ashore and peered into the wooded center. There it was, a faint green glow seeping from the island's dark heart. I flicked on my flashlight and we moved forward. In a clearing at the island's center, someone had built a structure. An old tattered armchair sat before a small table. On it was a TV older than Paul's with rabbit ears and a wooden casing. It was on glowing green despite no power cord or electricity on the island. The screen cast long shadows. I sprinkled salt in a circle around Paul and me, lit 2 candles, one black, one white. Layla had prepared black oil to draw crosses on our foreheads and hands. She'd said if the white candle went out, we were fine. If the black one did run, I faced the TV and shouted, "Leave me alone. I don't want to be haunted." "Go away." The screen went black. A single light appeared in the center. Both candles went out. I grabbed Paul and we ran. Layla thinks the ritual worked. I hope so. Frank's home and seems happy. What do you think? Is it over, or am I still not free? As a rule, I try to stay optimistic. I was skeptical about exorcisms, but I couldn't fully believe what was happening until that night on the island. After the ritual, things seemed calm. Frank's cheerier and the heavy feeling in my apartment eased. The TV turned on once 2 days later, but I chalked it up to a power glitch. Stupid me. The folks on No Sleep were right. This isn't over. Last night it happened again. I came home late, exhausted, and froze at the door. It's hard to describe. A wave of terror hit me, not air, but pure dread. Humans are still animals, and no matter how we suppress it, those instincts linger. I knew my home was invaded by something horrific. The apartment was pitch black, but the TV was on, showing static with a hissing sound from the speakers. Light spilled from the kitchen, though I hadn't left it on. My first thought was Frank. Instead of fear, anger surged. Frank's family and I won't let anything threaten my family. As a woman living alone, I keep a small .22 caliber pistol in a drawer near the door. I grabbed it, gripping it tightly as I approached the kitchen. In front of the stove, facing away, was an old woman. She was frail, with tangled, silver-streaked hair, hunched under a tattered green cloak, barefoot. My first thought was an escaped mental patient. Then something strange happened. She flickered like a TV image glitching. I knew instantly this was part of the entity hunting me. My hands shook, holding the gun. I doubted it'd do anything against a demon or whatever this was. A fleeting familiarity hit me, but I was sure I'd never seen her. She stood there a few seconds, unaware of me. Then she flickered again and slowly turned her head. I froze. I'd seen that face before on the body hanging from the ceiling in that yellow-walled room on the TV. My mind went blank, all rationality gone. I wondered if I could pull the trigger if she lunged like in a B horror movie. But she didn't. She opened her mouth toothless, with a black tongue, and pointed a bony finger with yellowed nails inside. I blinked. The kitchen was empty. The TV was off. I took Frank to Paul and Lila's, this time indefinitely. Frank's not okay after this, and I can't responsibly keep him here until it's resolved. Tomorrow, I'll call my landlord, who's owned this building a while. I remember being shocked at the low rent for such a nice place, and how he didn't linger long. I also recall neighbors avoiding me since I moved in. I don't think this is a ghost or demon, but something in between. H.P. Lovecraft wrote of ancient evil sorcerers so vile that when they died, their spirits became monstrous. I believe a previous tenant was such a sorcerer, a bridge between humanity and unspeakable horrors, someone who abandoned their humanity. They died, but not before their darkness seeped into these walls. I'm convinced I'm living in a dead witch's apartment. A quick summary of my investigation. The landlord was useless evasive, saying the previous tenant, an elderly woman, was ill and moved to a care facility. I don't buy it. He cited privacy but felt off. Neighbors were less discreet but knew little. They said she was in her 60s or 70s, kept rats as pets, and might have been a hoarder. The neighbor next door mentioned a foul stench in his apartment until she left, and my place was heavily renovated before being sold. No one saw her talk, visit, or leave during the day. Only the neighbor next door saw her once around 3 a.m., leaving and walking down the street. He didn't see her return. Paul and Lila helped search my apartment for clues. They found nothing, but after they left, I kept looking. I tapped walls, moved the stove, checked for loose carpet, everything. That's when I found a patched wall behind an outlet cover, about head-sized, with fresh plaster. I'd spent days clinging to rational explanations, but this shattered them. It wasn't a coincidence. She left this for me. I grabbed a table lamp and smashed the plaster. Dust choked me, reminding me how old this building is, probably lead paint, but I didn't care. I clawed at the plaster until the hole was big enough to reach inside. Shining my phone's flashlight, I saw a small wooden panel wedged in the gap. It wasn't what I expected, though. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe a rotting hand reaching out like in a horror movie. On the dusty panel covered in rat droppings, I found small bones later, Googled as rat vertebrae, shoulder blade, and femur. Crumpled papers. Mostly old newspapers and publishers' clearing house flyers. Some torn scraps with one side blacked out in ink, no writing or drawings. And a dusty 45 RPM vinyl record, its label scratched off, the grooves empty. For 3 days I debated playing the record. I feel it's what she and it wants, but that might not be healthy given the island night. It feels like a choose-your-own-adventure. I need advice. Play it, bury this stuff in the woods, or break my lease. I don't want to do this. Sorry for the delay in updating. Life's been hectic, and it took time to process what happened after we played the record. I've destroyed all recordings, images, and evidence of this, and I'll explain why. Let's go back to that night in my apartment with Paul and Layla. Layla prepared precautions, candles, salt, incense, and things I didn't understand and didn't ask about. Paul, ever suave, had a record player we set in the living room after moving furniture. The wall cache items were arranged around it along with a digital recorder and Paul's phone for video. I'd left Frank at their place, hoping he'd be okay alone. We thought we were prepared, but we later realized nothing could have prepared us. I held the record, looked at Paul, then Layla. She nodded. I placed the record on the player and lowered the needle. At first just static like radio noise for about 45 seconds. Then a background sound like a boy running on stone claws, clicking, heavy panting, approaching our protective circle. The sound grew louder, clearer, as if it was in the room. The bedroom door slammed open, hitting the wall. I screamed and stepped back, but Paul held me inside the circle. My heart pounded like those invisible dog claws. Then silence. Someone began humming disjointed, tuneless notes, faint. Whispers rose in the background, unintelligible. The humming stopped abruptly, and an old woman's voice spoke. "Father, can I have a glass of water?" The whispers continued, ignoring her. She repeated, her voice soft but raspy. I felt sorry for her. Why wouldn't anyone give her water? The heavy breathing returned, labored, almost gasping like the dogs. It quickened into panicked panting, mixed with words I barely caught. I noted some crick. "No, please, let me, you." She stopped wheezing. The background voices grew louder, not English, maybe Italian. I'm not sure, my memory's hazy. The old woman laughed a high, desperate cackle, then her voice dropped impossibly low, deeper than any man's vunal spam. Then a weak sob like a little girl's. "Please don't hurt me, Father. Don't hurt me. I want to go home. Father, please, it hurts so much. Take it out! Take it out of me!" The other voices swelled. Something shattered on the record, not in the apartment. I flinched. Layla and Paul sat, frozen eyes wide with fear, Layla's nails digging into Paul's arm. Another silence. Then softly, the woman's voice said one word, "Father." Silence. The door slammed shut with terrifying force. The record shook, screeching like a windstorm in our ears. I heard furniture topple, something light, maybe a chair. The wind faded, leaving only a creaking, like a swing on a tree branch. Nothing else. The record stopped. The table lamp's bulb exploded. Layla screamed. The candles went out one by one. The floorboards creaked as if a giant hand pressed from below. Paul yelled, "Don't move, stay in the circle." The TV flickered on, showing white static. Layla spoke. "It's there." We turned. She stared at the record player, eyes blank. "It's there," she repeated. "We have to destroy it." "What do you mean it?" I asked. "Trust me," she said with chilling certainty. I heard it in my head. It spoke. "It wants us to free it. We have to destroy everything." Layla didn't let us argue. She insisted on gathering the papers, the record, all evidence, including our recordings and video, into a cardboard box. We took it to a vacant lot near Lake Stern, the island in view, built a small pyre, and burned everything. We deleted all digital files. Only when every trace was ash did Layla calm enough to explain. "You were half right," she said. "That woman was a witch in a way. She told me a creature visited her at night calling itself her father, but her father was dead. Then, she didn't understand he was gone. She summoned it, and it fed on her loneliness, growing stronger as her madness deepened. It told her to kill rats, draw its name on walls, avoid people. I don't know how it ended, but she was far gone. I think a priest was called, and a ritual sealed it in the record. Like any vessel, it leaked, manifesting through the nearest thing, your TV. All parasites, no matter how strange or horrific, need a host. It chose you." I stared at the ashes. "Is it gone?" Layla nodded. "That woman was lonely, weak. A weak mind is an open door. She wanted it near her. You have us. Why would you need it?" I thought of the woman in my apartment, her gentle voice on the record, and felt a pang of sadness for someone so desperate they'd let themselves be destroyed just for a friend. Paul, seeing my mood, patted my shoulder. "Could have been worse, man." That was nearly 2 weeks ago. The phenomena stopped. I bought a new TV, though I doubt it matters. As I said, I'm a skeptic, but my advice to others, don't dismiss things like this. If I'd ignored or laughed it off, the outcome would have been far worse. Out of curiosity, one afternoon, I wore a mask and scraped paint off my bedroom wall. Layla said the woman wrote the entity's name there, and I couldn't resist checking. I expected something like Pazuzu or Legion demon names from exorcism lore. After an hour, I found faint black or red ink faded with age. When I cleared the dust, my heart sank, then froze. There in childish scrawl was the number 543.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below. And please like, share and subscribe my channel.